Great. Okay, so
Sorry. Okay. Well, I could do a brief introduction and then hopefully by that time
sure.
we've got 14 minus the two of us, so maybe a couple more people, but I'll just do sort of the introduction and then
Sure.
I'll hand it over to you. So welcome everybody today to today's presentation. We're really happy that you're able to join us today. And I wanted to welcome back Elizabeth. She's done some webinars for us in the past and they've always been informative. So I just wanted to welcome back Elizabeth Verway. She is a business mentor for over 25 years. She's a business growth advisor with Paro, and she is the owner of Spoken Lives. So I just want to hand it over to you, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lori. It's wonderful to be here. I was just saying I love passing on the information that I've learned, the hard-won lessons, as it were. So yeah, I'm just going to bring up my notes because I don't want to miss something. I'm apt to skip around, but I'm going to start by letting you know that I have written two business books, The Mentor's Circle and My Business Ate My Life, a recovery plan. And I self-published those books because of the business model that I had. Because I was selling to small business owners, I presented to small business owners in all sorts of places like the Toronto Public Libraries, the associations, all sorts of places. So it was better because believe it or not, a business book, a best-selling book, business book in Canada is you get about $1 a book. And a best-selling business book sells 1,000 books in Canada. So the capacity from a publisher is only $1,000. Now you might get an advance on that to write the book or finish writing the book. But for me, I sold the books at $30 each or $29.99. And in workshop settings, I would often sell them 10 for instance, the Mentor's Circle was for a peer group, like a mentoring circle. So I would sell 10 copies for $25 to people. So it'd be $250 sale. And, if I got a couple of those at each workshop, within 3 months, actually selling to in libraries, small business centers, all those sort of things. Within 3 months, I made $7,000. So it's just a better business model. Thank you, Cindy. It's a better business model for that book. And then, I went on to self publish again some other booklets, Mountain of Ideas, and one that was all for parents and caregivers to keep kids busy, and then Baby Focus, which helped. It was when my granddaughter was born. Gosh, I guess it's about 13 years ago now, and I wanted to stay in touch with her long distance, and so I started this whole thing around how to bond with a baby online, and it was moderately successful. I didn't put a lot of energy into it, but I had an interesting Facebook group for families to stay in touch, and had lots of fun with that, doing, suggesting that they both order Chinese and have dinner together online and things like that, or have a movie night and talk about the movie while they watched. It really a tremendous amount of fun. You're on the people coming in, Lori?
Yeah, I've let
Oh,
them in. Yeah.
excellent. Thank you so much. It's a tremendous amount of fun to take what you've learned and pass it on. So that's why I'm here today. I've even written a full-length play called Nurture Night, and it was read at 2 festivals, and it got fantastic feedback, and it's patiently waiting for rewrites when I slow down a bit to catch up with my life. So I'm currently writing a nonfiction book, and its working title is Till Death Do Us Part. It's based on interviews with people who've taken care of their ex-spouses when they were sick or even until their death. I'm currently looking for a publisher. I've got an agent that's mildly interested, but this book, I think, has such a different target market that I'd prefer to go through a publisher, and I'd prefer to go to the US because there's, of course, a bigger market. But I'm pretty passionate, as you can see, about writing, and I came up with tips that I wanted to share with you today. Okay, so I'd say maybe half of you have started writing, so I'm going to sort of give tips on both sides for someone who wants to start writing and someone who is in the process. So how you want to structure a book. And then this is a little bit old school, but I use either sticky notes. I prefer to use sticky notes, but you could use recipe cards, that sort of thing. And I write whatever topics I want to cover in this book. And then on the top of the sticky note, and then underneath, maybe what would be included in that paragraph or that chapter. I don't go down to paragraphs, just a broad idea. And then I stick them usually on the back of a door because I never have wall space. I have art and plants all over my place, but stick them on the back of the door and I can kind of rearrange them, and try to think what a logical flow of information might be. And of course, that becomes my table of contents. Right. And you can do that on your computer. But for me, I get a little mixed up and I'm a real visual learner. So that's a good tip for me, or it's worked really well for me to do that. And I enjoy the whole process of moving the sticky notes. Now, if you're using recipe cards, I'd say, string like a clothesline across and do that kind of, moving around, that sort of thing. So that's really been helpful for me. And also the big thing is how to keep writing, right? You get the idea, you get your chapters, and then you're faced with the actual prospect of sitting down and writing. So I have been part of a writing group, and a writing group I meet every second Tuesday. We've just switched after 16 years, we switched to a Tuesday night. So we meet every second Tuesday. And in between meetings, I really keep writing, but I always stop in the middle. And I seriously mean in the middle of a chapter, in the middle of a sentence, and middle of a paragraph. And then my brain nags at me to get back to writing. I don't know if everyone's brain works that way, but that's what my brain does. But more importantly, when you come back to that, where you're in the middle of the sentence, in the middle of a thought, essentially, you know where you're starting. You're not starting from brand new, like, how do I start this paragraph or this chapter? If you complete a chapter and then you're faced with a new topic in a chapter, it might be a little hard to get going. It sometimes is, people talk about getting stuck. But if you stop in the middle, then it's almost like your warm-up exercise to complete that thought. I also prepare a mock cover for my book when I'm having trouble staying on track. And sometimes I've printed it up and put it up, and it's usually not the end, the cover that goes to print, but it keeps me involved. You might want to take a look. Actually, I'm doing a survey with my book right now, and it's at elizabethverway.com. And Lori, maybe you could throw that in the chat, elizabethverway.com.
Sure.
And it just tells people a little bit about the book. And then, as I said, there's this 4-minute survey where I'm collecting, information that'll probably be useful as research. But it also, a lot of people ask me, how's the book going? And that really helps me because I'm a little bit of an obliger. So that means if you know Gretchen Rubin's work, she talks about how to develop habits and that sort of thing. And I like it when people ask me how a project is going, because it's like having an informal accountability buddy, right? I also know a writer who registers an ISBN number. Now, that's a number, I think, with the Library of Congress, and it may be, I may be wrong on that, but it's what or when you go to order a book, often you need your ISBN number. When you go to order a book at a bookstore, or they find the ISBN number, it's unique to your book. So when she does that, she really likes that she needs to choose a date that the book will be published. Now, she likes having a deadline like that, but I don't do that until I've finished writing and I'm in the editing stage, because it's my experience that the editing stage can take almost as long as the writing. The writing is the fun part. And then when you start editing, you can't believe that how long it takes, because there's 4 types of editing, right? A lot of people who are going to these small publishing houses, customized publishing houses, they're only getting 1 or 2 types of editing, but really there's 4 stages in editing. So the first editor that I went to was a structural editor. So she looks at all the way the information flows, the organization of the chapters, and she restructured things. And she asked me, she said, this is missing. She identified things that were missing, which was amazingly helpful, right? And then the next one is line editing. And I didn't get a lot of I don't know, feedback on that. It was all positive stuff. Copy editing, and then proofreading. And a lot of people just get the, the structural and the proofing, but the others kind of make things even better. And you could Google 4 stages of editing to just kind of understand those a little bit more when you're ready, when you've got your book done. But please don't rely on just the proofreading stage, because there will be things missing in your book. The structure may not flow well. There's important reasons to go through different stages of editing. So, boy, that's a lot of information I've just dumped on you. Do you have any questions about those? And then I'll go on to other information. Any questions about starting writing, keeping writing, or the editing?
I have one question.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Aisha. Hello, thank you for presenting for these tips. I heard you talking about, when you said I stop in the middle of the idea. And I recall I listened to the TED Talk of Elizabeth Gilbert,
Okay.
yeah. And she was talking about her experience, and she said totally the opposite. She said, sometimes I am driving and I get the idea. So I don't have a pen, I don't have something to write, but I know that the idea will go away. And I even have experienced this, so yeah, we have different, our brain work different, because for me, I wrote an essay and in the past, and it I had to wake up in the night, like 2 a.m. and write, because I was having this kind of like continuous, so just I wanted to, what do you think about this? Because for you, what works better apparently is, well, like you say, your habits of uh, meeting with the group, writing, and stopping in the middle of the idea. That's what you said.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I didn't mean like if I have a great idea, I didn't mean not to capture it. But when you're actually writing your book, so you've got all your kind of ideas, your chapters laid out on these sticky notes or cards, or maybe you've moved it to the computer and you've got all your topics and what you're going to write about. But when you're actually getting into the writing, the meat of the matter, and you're writing, typing away, and then you've got an idea and you're clear on that idea. I mean, this information, and then you stop midway so that when you come back to it, it's not a new idea. It's an idea that you absolutely understand. And then you just start writing from where you left off, because you're completing the thought. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, it's your point of view on this, and it helps a lot as well. I have another question. Have you tried Gen AI, generative AI? Because you said you are, well, of course, when we write the book, we write, it's a writing, but there is now what they call generative artificial intelligence. So I don't know if you tried it to see if it can help you in this.
No, I haven't tried it. But a lot of my peers are turning to AI. I mean, it's taking information that's already created and organizing it and regenerating it. And that's fantastic if you want to use other people's ideas. But most of my books have been original thought and original models. I mean, some people have told me they've used them for newsletters that they create or LinkedIn posts and that sort of thing. And that seems suitable. But if you're going to go to all the trouble of writing a book, it's something that will last a long time. Like, if it's just other ideas that are out there that have been reorganized by you, I mean, that's not what I've done in the past.
No, because I am working trying it, and we can use it as a thought partner. For example, while you said, I put on a sticky note a topic, and that I know that I'm gonna, work on it. So apparently we can, because I used it. You can tell generative AI, tell me what do you think I can add here, or give me, kind of just help you in your thought. It's not going
Absolutely.
to, and what I found very interesting. But of course, it's not about going and taking what is in the net. It's more about using it as a thought partner, because sometimes we have a lot of ideas and we forgot sometimes what happened. I don't know, but
Great.
yeah.
Well, thanks. Good luck with that. I'm
Thank you.
going to go on. Donna's got a question. Yes, Donna?
Hi, thank you very much for coming. Can you hear me?
Oh, you know what it is? My speaker. No, it's not. Okay. If you could speak a little closer to the mic, that'd be awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about your research. Like when you're doing, like, for instance, your current book, Till Death Do Us Part, how do you find sources? How do you find people who are like, okay, that someone with an ex is dying, or how do you find, people who are burned out yeah, how do you find the subjects to interview and resources for your research and writing a book? Thanks.
Great question, Donna. Yeah, I started with my own circle of friends and just asking people, and I interviewed 4 people within my own like friends of friends and my own network. And then that's why I started this survey, because the survey asks sort of what would you do? Like if you're over 20 and you have an ex, you qualify for the survey. And I had the people do the survey, and now over 300 people, I think we're at 350 people have done the survey, and about 20 of them have volunteered and said, I have done this and I would be interested in being interviewed. So I've interviewed 23 people so far, and that I want about another 150 people, preferably in the US. If you know anybody in the US, I'd love, because if I'm going for a US publisher, I need more US content. I have Canadian, I have European, and I have Australian interviews, but I don't have, I have actually one US interview, but I want to get
from
some
asking
more.
friends of friends?
Pardon me?
Just from asking friends of friends?
Yeah. So if you know anybody, like you've got the elizabethverway.com. If you know anybody in the US, send it to them, if they're over 20 and they have an ex, and then people, spread it, send it to other people, right?
But you needed exes that were very ill, though. that we're
No,
dumping?
no, you don't. I mean, when you do the
Oh.
survey, so out of the 350 people who have taken the survey, only 20 people have actually had the experience and are willing to be interviewed.
Also, are you suggesting you start like a really broad survey and then from there you can extract what you really?
Yeah, and
Oh,
also I'm very interested in what people believe they'll do, what they think they'll do. Like, you know, my
oh,
ex
okay,
is still
okay.
alive, and but that's how the book came about. Actually, was he went in for emergency surgery, and I told one of our children, you know, I'd like to be part of the care team, and my son laughed. And I said, why are you laughing? And he said, well, believe it or not, a week ago, he said that about you. And I said, well, it makes perfect sense. Like, we grew up together, we were married 36 years, you know, but people have had like 4-year common law relationships. And then when the need arose, they have been the person to step up. You know, there's been very interesting stories. In one situation, a woman got a call that her ex was going in for heart surgery, and he had a ex-wife, his first wife. He had the person I interviewed, and he had his current girlfriend there when he came out of heart surgery. They were all there, and they couldn't believe it. And then he had had a stroke during the heart surgery. And so they ended up dividing up the work. So the one I interviewed was the business manager, because he was self-employed and she had to take care of contracts and stuff. The first wife was kind of the nurturer, and they had had children together. And so she took over his day-to-day needs, and the girlfriend was just entertainment. So pretty wild stories I've heard, and but we would never imagine we'd be in that situation, right? Like, so many people have told me the different reasons that they get involved. And I mean, one woman, she got a call, and this, I won't go on about this, I want to know more about your projects, but she got a call at home. She hadn't been with this woman for 13 years, and she got a call and saying, we know you're not with this person anymore, but she's got you still as the emergency contact, and we've had to let her go. It's called a mental health pension or something in Australia. And it was, you know, that they had to let her go for mental health reasons, and she gets a pension. But this ex thought, well, gosh, I can't just leave her if I'm the only person who knows she's sick. So she went and she got involved in a little bit, and then more and more and more, and saw her through to her death. You know, it's a very moving story. But she said, if you'd asked me, I would have said, forget it. She left me high and dry, you know? Anyway, Nancy has a question. Thank you, Nancy.
Hi, thank you so much. And I'm sorry if I'm jumping the gun at all. I've written and self-published a fictional book,
Yes.
and I sold about 100 copies of it. I'm working on a series, though. It was the first of a series, and now I've decided to take it down and try and go the traditional publisher route.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if you have any insight. You said that you have somebody that's kind of interested, like any insight in terms of getting a publisher or an agent. And also, like, thank you for those tips around writer's block, because as they say, like, the hardest part about writing is sitting down in the chair sometimes. just start writing. So
Yes. Yeah. And I find it, if I have standardized times, like I have right now, typically my Wednesdays are writing, so I'm giving up my writing time, but that's okay. I go away on Friday, so my week is kind of topsy-turvy anyway. But the first book I wrote, I did Saturday morning from 9 to noon every Saturday morning, didn't matter rain or shine. you know, and it took 10 months to write, and I call it my elephant child because it took 2 years until I published it, with the rewrites taking a bit longer, the structural stuff and what people wanted. I got feedback from people who would actually use the book. So your question was going through a publisher or a agent. Going to a publisher is like kind of like buying a lottery ticket. I mean, it's unlikely that your book will actually be read or reviewed. Going to an agent or getting an agent's attention is really the way to do it. And different agents specialize in different genres of books. So I would read books that are like yours and see who thanks their agent profusely and make a short list of agents. That's what I did. I approached a friend who had a 3 bestsellers in the US, and she in the same kind of genre, and she introduced me. So it was a stronger introduction. He's not saying he'll sell it, but he did give me some models for a book proposal, which, you know, now I just have to complete that. And that actually, to be totally honest, that's what led me to the survey, because I had the 4 interviews. I did kind of a, you know, business case for the book. And he said, well, you know, it has to be more robust, and here's some samples and that sort of thing. But that's for what I'm writing about, right? It's not for the other. Was that useful, Nancy? Thank you. Any other question? Okay, Jocelyn said, at what point in your process should you be finding an agent? Yeah, that's a great question. I'm doing it when I've got the book almost written. I'm sort of thinking about halfway, 3/4 of the way. I'll do at halfway, I'll do the proposal. Yeah, it's really, the publishers are just what do you call it? Like, they're just businesses loaning writers money. Nowadays, publishing industry is really being gutted. So they're not making a lot of money. And in fact, I've heard some complaints from different writers that the publishers don't even really do a book launch anymore. So, you know, you have to be prepared to do a lot by yourself. But it's the distribution channels that are very important to me with the publishers, because if you self-publish a book, well, I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment. So if you self-publish a book and you want to store any amount, to go to a trade show or to go to a, you know, whatever presentation, you have to have room for that. And then if you want to sell, like, you can sell to independent bookstores, and they will take it, either they'll buy a few copies or they'll take it on commission. But if you wanted to get into chapters, say you got into the local chapters, they have the capacity for that, but then, or Indigo, I guess it's called now. But then if you want to ship it across the country, you have to like print up those books, pay to ship them out. And then in 3 months, I believe it is, in 90 days, if they haven't sold the amount they want, they are free to send them back to you. And then you have to pay for the shipping to come back to you. So then you've got, again, a whole whack of books, right? So it's just, it's you know, a pain. And of course you can do it on Amazon. And, you know, there's cuts into that and that sort of thing. Lila or Lila? Just like the song you told me once. Oh, did she? Oh, there she is.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, I was muted and chatting. No, it's Layla, but
Layla, that's right.
yeah,
I know the song
sure,
well.
yeah. No, I was interested in hearing that the industry, the publishing industry is being gutted. Gutted by what? And that what would be interested because if their market shares are being taken, say, by, I don't know, self-publishing, other platforms, it would be interesting to know about that because maybe that'd be the route to go for some of, the ladies that want to publish here. If you
Oh,
can
yes.
shed some light on that, Elizabeth, please.
Yeah, so they're being gutted. I mean, there's a lot of people self-publishing really crappy books. There's so many bad books out there, and the publishing industry is being very, very selective on the books they choose. I'm not saying they always choose the right ones, but there's a bit of hierarchy there. And so if you're self-publishing, I felt a lot of pressure to really make a good quality product. There's pros and cons of each. Like I said, the business model for self-publishing, you make more money, right? With self-publishing, but you have to figure out all the marketing, right? And you have to often hand sell, like what is it? There's an old book called The Celestine Prophecies. I don't know if any of you are old enough to know it, but he sold it out of the back of his car, out of the trunk of his car for years and years before a publisher said it was worthy, right? I had a very strong business marketing case for both of my books. So I knew that I would make money. This book that I'm doing now, and I'm choosing to go the other route, but there's a timeline on it. If I don't get a publisher within a certain timeline, and I haven't decided when that will happen, then I'll self-publish if I need to. But it involves, building a website and, doing all sorts of funnel marketing and, all this kind of stuff. So, I'll do it if I need to, but I'm just saying there is a benefit to go the self-publishing. Not that I won't be marketing. Let me tell you, I'll be marketing and they can make their money and I'll get $1 a book. But if I get into a US publisher and they sell 1 million books, that's $1 million instead of, 50,000 that I could make in Canada as a Canadian author. Donna, your hand was up first, and then Cindy will be next.
Hi, thank you. Speaking of marketing, when you have what you think is like an exciting, interesting idea, do you work based on that, or do you do some market research, and how do you do that to see what people need information on that's missing?
Yeah, I talk to people. I mean, if you look at my survey, you'll see that all my not all my ideas, but all the backbone of the book is all there. I don't feel that I need to protect my topic or my idea around the book. I talk to people almost, and I'm amazed how many people say, oh, I'd love to read that book. So sorry, your question is about do I ask people, do I do market research?
Do you embark on a project based on the market need or based on what you find interesting? Or which one do you start first? Yeah.
Well, they've each come sort of differently. That's an interesting question. So the Mentor Circle was a business model that I developed in the year 2000. And I was running the groups personally for 4 years. And I thought, I don't want to be stuck running groups for the rest of my life. I want to empower other people to run the group. So then I had a choice, a business choice, right? To control it, to license it, or just to publish a book on how to do this. So then I chose to publish the book because I didn't want to, grow that whole licensing model and be bogged down in this one concept. I mean, this was sort of my second big contribution to the world, you know, and I didn't want to get stuck in it. I would just want to spread it out. So I was very fortunate. You know, it spread out easily in Toronto, and then I started selling it to different people across the country. And there were groups everywhere springing up. A lot of coaches called it the coaching circle and that sort of thing. So, you know, it really spread well. And then the United Way asked me to train twice a year for not-for-profits and charities, because I used to run a charity. So I wrote a slightly different model. And at one point, there were 40 not-for-profit groups meeting in Toronto, as well as, I don't know, 10 or 12 profit groups, like coaches running the groups. So it was because I wanted to spread the word. The other one, my business Ate My Life, a recovery plan. I have made my living as a mentor for 25 years, and some people simply can't afford to pay one-on-one services. And I had stopped doing the mentors circle groups because I wanted to make room for other people doing the groups. So my business Ate My Life, a recovery plan, was all about, you know, helping people figure out their own challenges in their business and go further and you know, improve their systems and time management and that. So it's sort of like little tips here and there, you know, along the way, so that they can make improvements without hiring a mentor or a coach. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks. So it sounds like is more intuitive. You don't do like a big market thing. It's like you already have the customers and you want to pivot, or you want to leverage it.
Well, yeah, that's interesting, because this one, of course, I didn't know anything about, and I knew I wanted to do it a different way. But when I started talking to people and I heard the interest, after I'd done the 4 interviews, I started talking about the scenarios, and people kept saying to me, I'd read that book, I'd read that book. But that's when I started that questionnaire. So that, in fact, is sort of a little bit of market research as well, right? The 250 people have already, or 350 people have already taken it. And my goal is to have 500 people take the survey. So, you know, that's a little bit of market research as well. And, you know, I plan to do a magazine article, for instance, and measure, you know, how many people respond to that and that sort of thing. So I guess it's different for every book. I call them my babies, right?
Okay, thanks.
And yeah, they're a book baby rather than a fur baby. Thanks for the question, Donna. And Cindy, you've got the next question.
Hello, this is really splendid. Thank you. It's very encouraging to be hearing a Canadian doing well in publishing. It's yeah, publishing is a very hard walk, and especially in Canada, and especially doing it indie. I've done a couple of projects, and one of the things that I learned, everybody wants to write a book, but it's the marketing. If you do not have a marketing plan in advance, a good solid one, and I will use the term team. You are a brilliant person, Elizabeth, because you are getting people behind your work before you're even doing it. That's a team of people that will organically market your materials through the interest, the authentic interest and interaction with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just sharing this because my projects, the time and the love and the labor and the money and the everything I put into them, for them to really go nowhere, I would hate to see any of you ladies endure that. As
Yeah.
Elizabeth knows. So the marketing, figure out our marketing. I'm kind of walking into another book. It's an idea God's put in my heart that is just not leaving. And that's the big thing, is the marketing it beforehand, because without having a prepped audience or a warm plate, so to speak, really, it won't go anywhere because so many people are putting garbage out there. And
Yeah.
anybody can write a book now. Anybody can publish a book. So what makes ours special?
Mm-hmm.
What makes our book special? And why would anyone want it? And how do we get them to pay attention?
Yeah, and there's always a way to reach the audience, right? What's your topic, Cindy? I mean, of a past book or the new book, just to
Yeah.
give me
So-
something to work with.
So the past, there's the two past projects. One was my lyrics and poetry and the stories behind them. The other one was a book of word search puzzles that are circles that I did every puzzle by hand. I didn't
Wow.
use any computer programs. I did every single puzzle by hand. They all have original artwork, and they're very encouraging and uplifting and very people just love the book. People would go gaga and then they would walk away without buying one. It was really painful. And this one that I'm endeavoring to start, which I want to do an ebook because of the other two. Yeah, I think ebook is for this one the way to go. It's about just God being on my heart and how I know it's him and not me, not my Cindy brain. It's like, okay, I know it's God
Interesting.
because so they're all very different, but this one, I'm in a whole new galaxy because the printing industry, the publishing industry has changed so much. And now with the advent of AI, it's a challenge because AI is like a ghostwriter now, right? Which I have no interest in going in that direction, but it's the marketing. And so are there two things that you could think of off the top of your head in this climate about marketing before you even put pen to paper or fingers to keys?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, a survey is a fantastic way. I would develop a workshop to go into like that was non-denominational that you could take to churches and spiritual groups. Just like Marianne Williamson wrote that book. What was it called? That's so funny. I know the book, and there's sort of like book clubs that meet around that, and you could use her model, Marianne Williamson, and
I'm making note of her name right now. Give me 1 second.
no, it's not
Marianne
Return to Love. What's it called?
Williamson?
The course. Yeah, A Course in Miracles is what she kind of.
Oh, I've heard that.
Yeah. So take a look at that, thinking of your business model, Cindy. And who's your business growth advisor at Paro?
I have no idea.
Oh, are you connected with Paro?
I am connected with Paro, and Kayla, I think might be.
Kayla. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I think it's her.
Yeah, so maybe Kayla would, if you contact Kayla, we could, the three of us get together later in February and
Okay.
talk specifically about your book.
Okay.
Usually, we share clients freely, but
Yep.
I'm going to be away till mid February. So, reach out to Kayla and see if she can arrange something later in February. Okay.
Splendid. I will do so. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. It's really important to have a sense of your audience and where you're going to find them. And now, like, you can consider podcast interviews. I just think that's like the best thing ever, because getting into radio stations used to be tricky. Getting into a podcast is not as tricky. With my first couple of books, I got book reviews. I found it relatively easy to send the book into business magazines and that sort of thing. Those business magazines don't really exist, but I know a lot of the magazines. I've started researching which magazines might be interested in doing a book review of my new book, And one thing with self-publishing, I found that it's about 20%, maybe 15 to 20% of the books that you give away for book reviews, for, you know, coming into an association and doing a workshop. I gave some as prizes. You know, when I would present a workshop, I would definitely read from the book to give them the sense that what they wanted was this book, you know, and give one as a prize to let people really get in touch with I want to win this prize. Oh, well, I didn't win, but I'll go and spend $30 and buy the book.
Yeah, to see the value in it.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll talk further about that, Cindy.
That would be splendid. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And Leila, you've got a question.
Yeah, I have a question, but at first I'd like to just perhaps give Cindy my 2 cents as ideas came as well. But I think if you write a book about a certain spiritual area, there are people who are interested, especially in the southern US. They're very, very large groups, who might truly be interested in what you're saying. And perhaps these are the people that, you could reach out to even beforehand, and they may give you, some ideas. And I don't know exactly, the spiritual area you're in, but I can think, for example, of evangelical churches who are extremely powerful and very business oriented, and they certainly would have a wealth of information for you. So explore that if you wish. On the other side of the border, as it's a little more critical mass, you know, um, you know. So that, and I wanted to ask now, Elizabeth, now teachers, for example, have this teachers pay teachers, website, Instagram, and whatnot. And a lot of the teachers are publishing children books, and things like that. So I wanted to know whether you have any idea, Elizabeth, of any marketplace, in fact, for certain types of books, perhaps, like I just, cited teachers pay teachers, usually children books and other educational material. But perhaps, self-help, and not that I want to categorize your mentor circle into, self-help, but if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I can't say that I've really seen a lot of marketplaces for specific genres of books. I mean, I know like there's a lot of people publishing books. Oh, I'm just trying, I don't know where to direct you, but I've got two friends, one that's publishing out of the UK, and it's gay fiction. So books, he's written 3 books now, gay fiction, and it gets published out of the US, and they do out of the UK, and they do a great job with, but it's just another publisher, right? A niche publisher. I don't know marketplaces. I can't think. Then another friend of mine, weirdly enough, he's straight, but he's been writing, I'm just trying to think what they're called, like chapters, in olden days that they would publish a chapter of a book in newspapers, I believe. He said that there's a whole platform where people pay to read your chapter every I don't know, week, month, I have no idea, but that would be sort of a platform that people, he's a straight guy writing gay fiction. That's why I think it's so odd, but he writes this, and different chapters are consumed each week, and people give money based on saying thanks, sort of like the Patreon. Patreon is a place that people turn to get money for newsletters or different projects that they have where people give a donation for that, for your work to support your sort of like patrons of the arts. Cindy, Kylie had a question and then we'll come back to you. Okay. Kylie?
I actually have 3 questions from chat for you. I have one that is, what programs do you recommend when writing a book? Can you please speak on the booklet model as well? What defines a booklet and page length? And someone's asking if you can share the link to your survey.
Sure. The link to my survey, Kylie, it's my name, Elizabeth Verwey with an E, elizabethverwey.com. Sorry, the other questions were a little bit more challenging for me. Can you give me the first one first?
What programs do you use to recommend, do you recommend when writing a book?
But what, sorry, the person who asked the question, if they can specify what program, I don't.
They had to leave early, so.
Oh, okay, I don't understand the question. What program? Like I just
So, do
do
you
it on
use
a-
Microsoft Word?
Yeah, I
when
just
you're
use
going
it
to
on
edit?
I just do a Word document with, but like I said, I work with professional editors. So, I mean, I'm the world's worst speller, but spell check has saved me from embarrassment. And then, I work with a professional editor around structure, the 4 editing phases. I usually use a couple of different editors actually, because they all have their specialties. So I hope that answers that question. What's the next question, Kylie?
Can you please speak on the booklet model? What defines a booklet and page length?
Oh, okay. I guess for me, a book, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'd Google that question because I don't know the answer. This book, I did it like an 8x10 and it was like 126 pages. So to me, that's a book, right? But a booklet is usually, for me, in my own personal opinion, is about 30 pages, but I don't know that that's the right answer. But my books were certainly, this one was 145 pages. You've got a lot of choices in each time you have a book published. One thing I highly recommend, and this goes back to Cindy's comment earlier, but people scroll through, they fan through my book, and because it's well designed, they bought the book. I swear I sold books just because they liked the design. I also sold books because of this is actually a really good point. I sold books because of the people I chose to put on the back, the testimonials, recommendations that I chose to get on the back. Like I have, some heavy hitters for a Canadian business book, and I cold called them. I totally cold called them. I told them what the book was about and why I thought that they would be interested in writing this. And one of them, in fact, I won't identify which one, he got back, or he didn't get back to me, and I kept haranguing, following up, I call it in professional speak. And he finally said, why don't you just draft something and then I'll see if I like it. And so I did that, and I'm so grateful to him because, it was really like he believed in the concept, but he didn't have time to do it. Another person had their assistant read the book and write something. So, those things made a difference when people turned over and looked on the back and they went, oh, okay. And they liked the design. Like there's so many, you think about yourself, there's so many micro things that give you the decision to buy a book. Right? Cindy, you have a question.
Well, actually, I just wanted to speak a little to your mention of Patreon. I actually have a podcast on Patreon, and it is it's built specifically to creators. Was it Layla? I'm not sure which lady asked about it, but Patreon is a place where you can go and develop a community, and it's through membership. You can set different membership options, and it's one of the ways that I'm planning on presenting this next book. But it's great because if you already have any fans or following or email lists or anything, it's a place you can direct people to, and it is dedicated to creators. So you'll find every kind of creator on there, and it is a people are coming there because they're choosing to. They're not necessarily finding you at random, but they're there because they want to be there, and then it's a way for them to help you, either monetarily or through other ways. So
Great,
Patreon is
thanks.
excellent. Yeah.
And I see that Nancy had to hop off, but she said I used Reedsy, REEDSY, to format the book. See, that's the difference. I used a professional designer, so I didn't. That's what probably she was really asking. Yeah, so Nancy used Reedsy. I don't know it. And Cindy, did you have another question?
No, sorry, I'll lower my hand now.
Oh, that's okay.
I'm
no
trying to make
problem.
notes.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot going on, isn't there?
And I have a sick puppy here on my lap.
I saw with
Yeah.
the big, what do you call it? The big
Rottweiler
cone.
Shar-Pei. Yeah, he has a cone, and he's the size of the couch, but he
I
needs
knew
to
he
come
was
on his
big
lap.
when I saw the cone. So I'll take a couple of, last comments I'll make, and then I'll take a few questions. So I loved using an index, and you know, you can, WordPerfect or Word has a index built in, but I used a human, and I was really thrilled with my index in the book. I use indexes when I read books, so you know, that's something I really want to mention. I found presentations and workshops and radio interviews or podcasts are the best way to promote your book, but you need to make a robust marketing plan. I had so much fun doing book launches with the first book. I'm just trying to remember. Okay, this was I find it interesting. I decided to break the mold rather than have a book launch where everyone comes for free and you know, maybe you'll buy my book. I decided I'm going to invite people, and I called it Meet Your Mentor, because I was going to make groups at that event, and I sold tickets for $25 to come and meet your mentor. And when you checked in, you said what you needed to, who you needed to meet that night. And luckily, I'd pre-sold tickets because I bought a lot of stuff. I rented a really beautiful place in Toronto. If anybody's from Toronto, at Todmorden Mills, that beautiful venue, and spent a lot of money. And then I woke up the morning, I went out to get my newspaper, and my street was really quiet. And I thought, why is my street so quiet? This is so interesting. And there was a TTC strike. This is way, way back. Nobody would have come if I hadn't pre-sold tickets, or I feel that who would want to try and get somewhere on a crazy day? It's sort of like on a snowstorm day. So anyway, I was thrilled with the way it worked out. And my son came in from Montreal, and he manned the table and sold books. And he was really having fun with people, because there were a lot of people that had seen him through the years, and he'd say, "You're only going to buy one? What about your sister?" You know? And so we sold a lot of books. The second book, I got even more clever, and I'm just going to take a minute to outline that. I had a dinner, a private dinner. The capacity was 60 people, and then the door could open and we could take another 40 people. So people could come and pay $60 for the dinner portion, and I spoke, and one other person spoke, probably somebody who endorsed the book. introduced me, and then I spoke, and then at 8 o'clock, it opened up. So from 6 to 8 was this private event where I went table to table signing books. The $60 included the book and the dinner. And then the 40 other people came in at 8 o'clock, and, you know, they were just tickled, and I sold, I don't know, I think I sold 20 books or something like that. But it was just really, I did a kind of I think I called it a VIP experience or something like that. And it was just really clever. And we had a photo area, like where you could take, I had a friend taking photos and she could email them to you, or you could take photos, like a photo booth idea. So you've got to think about what suits your book and brainstorm with some people who have clever ideas, and, you know, figure that out. I've just got the 5-minute or probably 4-minute warning now. So Donna, I'll take a question, and then Layla will come back to you.
Yeah, for someone just starting out self-publishing, what budget and things like did you, you know, like where did you get your indexer, your editor? Did you, you know, who did you hire for your cover? Like, are you thinking of all these marketing strategy and events by yourself, or who are, yeah, what do you think would be like a ballpark, like if you were to, you know, to self-publish you know, 200-page book on your own, like
Oh, it's such a big,
sources?
that's like a huge question, Donna. I'm so sorry that it's like 4 minutes to go and I'm supposed to answer this, but so it used to be called the Editors Association of Canada, but it might be different name now. The Canadian Association of Editors was what it used to be called, but if you Google that, you'll get what they are now. And I posted on there, I think it was 5 pages of my book they wanted to see, and then the editors quoted on the book. So Donna, they read those 5 pages of book, or 5 pages, they make edits on them, and they estimate, okay, you've got 200 pages. Based on these 5 pages, I will charge you this much to edit your book. And so I got 3 quotes, and then a friend that, well, she wasn't a friend then, but a business editor approached me and said, I will match your lowest quote because I really want to edit your book. And I said, I won't let you. I'll give you the highest quote. And so we sat there and had a ridiculous argument about how much I would pay her. And we went with the middle quote, and I paid her that and then gave her a bonus once things started selling. She recommended me to somebody else she knew, liked, and trusted for the structural editing. And then, you know, we moved into the other editing. Sorry, and you asked about
Cover,
the
artwork and indexing, you know.
yeah, the indexing. I went to a fellow in Ottawa. What's his name? I think his name is, I asked him for a discount. Oh, this is an interest. Oh gosh, so many things are coming back to me from your question. His name should be right here. It's interesting. But I asked him for a discount and told him he could put his name on it. Maybe he didn't put it, but it seems to me it's Clive. But I just Googled indexers, and this guy was in Ottawa. I did run out of money. I had, let's see, I'm trying to remember what my budget was. It's all outdated figures, like it's not worth telling you. But I did run out of money to get it printed. It was $7,000 to get it printed. So I'm just looking for one of these things. I did these small ads that I sold because I did have a network of businesses, right? So I had small, basically they're almost like endorsements, but I sold them. I said, okay, there's 1,000 books that I'm going to sell, and I need you to give me $500 for a small ad in this thing. And it wasn't hard. I selected people that I thought would be interested based on the audience I was going to sell it to. And they all, I think one person said no, but you know, everybody, and I like, it was cheaper than a stamp, right? To reach all those people. And it would live on certainly much longer than a piece of mail that you mailed to somebody. So that was successful in getting me some money. And then I put the rest on the line of credit, and I was terribly motivated to sell books.
I'm really sorry to interrupt, Elizabeth, but
Yes.
I already have the next speakers asking to get into the room.
Okay. But thank you, Kylie, for giving me the heads up. And I thank you, each of you, for attending today, and good luck and good writing, and put out quality product. That's all. I beg you, please put up quality books. Thank you very much. Take good care.
Just a quick reminder, if anybody would like a copy of today's recording, please feel free to send me an email at communications@pero.ca. I have put it in the chat there for you. Thanks for coming, everybody, and have a
oh,
great day.
And
Kylie,
Kylie, what's the next event?
WEOC.
The WEOC,
it's-
you have to have pre-registered for it, unfortunately, to be able to attend it.
Okay, thank you. So we will leave the room quietly. Thank you, Kylie.
It was excellent.